The trial transcript revolves around oral arguments in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York concerning the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, versus Richard J. Schuler, also known as Richard Hart, and entities HEX, PulseChain, and PulseX. The key focus was on the Commission's allegations against the defendant regarding blockchain software programs and related activities. Key points addressed include: Point 1. Personal jurisdiction debate. Defense arguments challenged the Commission's claims that Mr. Schuler's activities justified personal jurisdiction within the United States. Defense counsel argued that his blockchain programs and web content were globally accessible but not targeted specifically at U.S. residents, thus failing to meet jurisdictional criteria. The Commission countered, citing interrelated promotional activities and connections to the U.S. market. Point 2. Timeline of alleged activities. Defense argued that the events cited by the Commission, such as conferences and online promotions, occurred after the claimed offering periods for the blockchain programs and were thus irrelevant to the jurisdictional inquiry. The Commission maintained that these activities were part of broader efforts to market and influence the value of the offerings. Point 3. Fraud allegations. Discussions extended to allegations of fraud against Mr. Schuler. The Commission emphasized alleged misleading statements, deceptive conduct, and omissions about the nature of the offerings and related investments. The defense countered that Mr. Schuler had made explicit disclosures that no expectation of profit should exist from investments, framing his conduct as transparent, not deceptive. The transcript features in-depth legal debates on jurisdiction, securities laws, and the nature of blockchain-related transactions, underscoring the complexity and nuances of applying existing legal standards to evolving technologies and markets. The defense's position. Based on the transcript summary, the defendant's lawyers appear to be in a relatively strong position during these oral arguments. Here's why. Subject: clear jurisdictional challenges. The defense's emphasis on personal jurisdiction highlighted substantial issues with the Commission's claims, including the global accessibility of content and blockchain programs that were not specifically aimed at the U.S. This argument challenges whether the court has proper jurisdiction to proceed, which is a foundational aspect of the case. Successfully undermining jurisdiction could significantly weaken or even dismiss parts of the case. Subject: timeline emphasis. The defense's focus on the timeline of events, arguing that key promotional activities occurred after the relevant offering periods, seems to have been presented effectively. This may weaken the Commission's claims of continued conduct relevant to the offering and could lead to questions about the relevance of certain evidence. Subject: fraud allegation strategy. The defense strongly countered the fraud allegations by arguing that Mr. Schuler made explicit disclaimers about the nature of transactions, specifically that participants should not expect profit. They presented this as transparency rather than deception, attempting to refute claims of misleading or fraudulent behavior. Subject: contrasting arguments and judicial responses. The transcript suggests that the defense highlighted inconsistencies in the Commission's positions and questioned the relevance of certain facts, which could make their argument appear more coherent and persuasive. However, while the defense raised strong procedural and substantive points, the overall strength of their position depends on how the court ultimately interprets and applies the law to these arguments. If the court views the jurisdictional or substantive challenges favorably, the defense may indeed be in a strong position. If not, the case could proceed with the Commission's claims given weight. So, while they present a robust front, the outcome hinges on judicial interpretation and future proceedings. The judge's current position. From the transcript, it appears that the judge is carefully scrutinizing both sides' arguments, showing a mix of skepticism and a demand for clarity on key issues. Here is how the judge's position comes across. Point 1. Focused on jurisdictional clarity. The judge is clearly interested in the nuances of personal jurisdiction and seems to be challenging both sides to provide concrete evidence on this issue. For example, when questioning the defense's assertion that Mr. Schuler's activities were globally accessible but not directed specifically at the U.S., the judge pushed for more details. Similarly, when the Commission attempted to justify its jurisdictional claims by linking Mr. Schuler's promotional activities to U.S. investors, the judge demanded specifics on whether the conduct was targeted domestically or just broadly available. Point 2. Skeptical of broad assertions. The judge appears to be wary of broad or vague claims from either side. The Commission was pressed to clarify the relevance of post-offering events and whether they had any bearing on establishing jurisdiction or proving their case. This skepticism suggests that the judge is unwilling to accept assumptions or generalities and instead demands a precise connection between the defendant's actions and U.S. jurisdiction. Point 3. Rigorous examination of fraud claims. The judge's questioning about the fraud allegations shows a concern for specificity and evidence. By asking why individuals would contribute funds under the terms suggested by Mr. Schuler and questioning the legitimacy of the fraud allegations, the judge seems focused on determining whether the conduct alleged truly meets the threshold for deceptive practices under securities laws. A balanced approach. The judge appears balanced, giving each side ample opportunity to explain their arguments while not shying away from difficult questions. The judge's focus on whether statements and actions constituted true efforts to mislead or were simply transparently disclosed activities indicates a commitment to evaluating the claim's merits with a critical eye. Overall, the judge's position suggests a methodical approach, seeking to ensure that jurisdictional issues are addressed before engaging deeply with substantive claims. This approach indicates a willingness to consider dismissing claims that fail to meet legal thresholds while remaining open to arguments that could potentially validate the Commission's case if properly substantiated.